What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Tonight we continue our chronological look at the Bally bingos that are so very wonderful. The very next in line is actually a lot of fun. Now, I believe I've talked very briefly about this Ohio dime game, as Jeffrey Lawton calls it, in a previous episode, but I can't find where I made the reference. So, what I will tell you, it's incredibly similar to Funway. In fact, as Phil Hooper points out, this is actually the replay version of Funway. The only difference is a different name on the Backglass, and a lot of fun has a button that allows you to play the score to enable the cards. I mentioned that Funway had that, but I was wrong. There is no button. Instead, the game will just automatically use your points as soon as the game ends to enable the cards. But a lot of fun has a button to allow you to enable just as many cards as you want. So, we'll just breeze on past that one, since now you know the difference. And the very next in sequence would be County Fair. However, I talked about that back in episode 189. And so that brings us to 1960's Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach is a 25-hole bingo. A bingo pinball is simply a pinball machine where you step up, you put in a nickel, the game will load the first of 5 balls automatically to the shooter lane, and the playfield is loaded with 26 holes, 25 of which are trap holes, which means that as soon as the ball lands in it, it's trapped for the remainder of the game. The 26th hole is the ball return, and if the ball manages to snake its way all the way down to the ball return at the very bottom center of the playfield, it will return to the player at no penalty. You do not lose the ball as you would with a gobble hole or an out hole. So, as you play the game, the goal is to match up numbers on the playfield with numbers on the Backglass, which contains the bingo card, and try to get 3, 4, or 5 in a row. In Laguna Beach's case, this is a magic screen game. A magic screen has a standard bingo card that's actually chain mounted behind the Backglass, and when the feature is enabled, it allows the player to move the screen on a chain, revealing new sections which allow for different scoring opportunities. For example, by default on the bingo card, you have to have 3, 4, or 5 numbers lit directly beside each other in order to win. On a magic screen game, if you move the screen, it reveals sections which only require that 3, 4, or 5 be in the section. They don't have to be adjacent. This is very powerful and allows for some very strategic gameplay. Now, Laguna Beach has an extended time tree. This means that the magic screen movement feature will lock out by default before you shoot your 4th ball, but the extended time tree part means that you can change it to disable the magic screen before shooting your 5th ball, or, even better, after shooting your 5th ball. If you have after 5th lit, this allows you to score in multiple sections after the game has ended. If you have before 5th lit, that means you can score in multiple sections after shooting your 4th ball, but you won't be able to collect 5 in a row in multiple sections, or multiple colors. So let's talk about the colors for a minute. This game has triple deck scoring. There are red, yellow, and green sets of odds, all of which step independently. On the Backglass, the default bingo card has red, green, and yellow lines, which indicate to the player the amount of replays that they'll earn if they get numbers in those columns or rows or diagonally together. The sections which are revealed as you move the magic screen are also colored red and yellow and green. But now, there's an extra section. This section is made up of only 3 numbers and is in the shape of a reverse L that's also upside down. So this reverse upside down L is the blue section. The blue section scores as green 5. Now it's only 3 numbers wide, and by default it will shoot all 3 balls to light up the blue section in order to score green 5, but randomly the machine will award you shoot 2 balls into the blue section to score green 5. The odds themselves move from 4 for 3 in a row, 16 for 4 in a row, and 75 for 5 in a row, all the way up to 192 for 3 in a row, 400 for 4 in a row, and 600 for 5 in a row. This machine has the super sections, which are red with white stripes or yellow with black stripes. And if the super sections are lit, if you land only 2 balls in the section, it'll score as 3. If you land 3 balls, it scores as 4, and 4 scores as 5. It's a very powerful feature and very fun to shoot for when it's lit. This game also has an orange section. This lights independently of the rest of the magic screen. It's called the OK section. When this section is lit, the screen will actually move further to the right, revealing a reverse L. And if you sink 2 balls in that orange section, it will award the red letter game. Now, the red letter is one of the letters that's in the word Laguna. And the indicated letter will change based on the position of the green odds. There are 8 individual steps that the odds stepper for green can move through. And there are 6 different letters in Laguna. So for steps 1 through 3, L is lit, and then it moves up from there. If you have the OK feature lit, it's in your best interest to try and increase the green odds. The higher the letter, the better the game it awards. So, what does that do exactly? What is a red letter game? So, the letter that's indicated on the Backglass awards an entirely new game that you don't have to pay for, with a guaranteed sets of odds and features. Usually much, much higher than the game that you were playing. This is indicated by a large score and instruction card strip, which is actually run between the typical score and instruction cards down at the apron level. And it will tell you for each letter what is awarded. On some letters, there is a choice that the machine has to make. Will it award you an extra odds jump in one of the colors or not? This red letter game can keep you coming back for more and more and more to try. Just that one more time to get a fantastic hit on a red letter game. Now, getting a red letter game is quite the thrill. You hold down the R button on the foot rail to register replays, but there are no replays to register if you only have 2 in the orange section. And in fact, you can't actually hold the R button down and have it do anything until after you've shot your fourth ball. So in this game's case, there's also a feature that will light that if you sink 3 balls or more in the orange section, it'll score as green. This is pretty nice because it's a little gimme before it gives you the red letter game. But basically, when you're collecting the red letter, you hold the R button down. You don't just push it once and then let go. The machine will do its normal searching, which bingo players are familiar with. It will tick and tick and tick and then clank and clank and make some really interesting noise. You hear some of that every day at the beginning of my podcast. But that's just a normal section search. And I've also clipped out some of the noises that it makes. But on a red letter game, it makes those noises, and then all of a sudden, it drops the balls. All the balls fall down through the playfield, and the machine starts making all kinds of crazy noise. It starts ticking up the odds, it starts racking up the features, it starts making just the most beautiful cacophony that you've ever heard. And then the ball is lifted to you, and you're ready to shoot. Or are you? Because at this point, you have yet another decision point. Do you want to put in more money to try and increase your odds above the level that the machine automatically awarded you? Or do you want to try for maybe an extended time tree? Perhaps the machine didn't award that for you. There are all sorts of decisions in a bingo game, and that's one of the things that just keeps me playing them and playing them and playing them, and that's what makes these games so wonderful to me. Now, after you've played your 5-ball game, there's another decision point. Do you want to try to earn an extra ball? And the way you do this, just as with trying to earn features or odds increases, is you play replays or you add coins. And the game could award you an extra ball on your first coin, or it could award you an extra ball on your 20th coin, or it could award you an extra ball on your 50th coin. It's really hard to say. It depends on the alignment of certain units in the game. And if you've been on a winning streak, and your machine is set up as it came from the factory, it will decrease your likelihood that you'll actually win an extra ball. So in this way as well, the machine keeps you guessing. There's not a way for you to predict accurately. Even having worked on these, when an extra ball is going to come, you have a good feeling. But a feeling's not the same thing as knowing, is it? At least not for me. So, part of playing a bingo is learning the machine. As with any pinball machine, you step up to a new pinball machine, you don't know what you're doing. You shoot some balls, you see what happens, but then you start to get a feel for it. You figure out just how far you can push that machine before it tilts. You figure out how many coins does it normally take to light the magic screen? How many coins does it normally take to give me an extra ball? And then you start working from there. You figure out, okay, if I have 25 cents to spend per game, that's 5 chances at an odds increase, or an extra ball, or a feature increase. So then you start working the system and trying to earn replays within that limit. And if you are a skilled player, you can do this. You can sink 3 balls in a row, 4 balls in a row, 5 balls in a row, no sweat, get your replays going, and come out on top. I am not a skilled player. So that's another thing that keeps me coming back. I have not figured out the code for consistently winning across all of my machines. Now, I'll get into the groove with one or another machine, but hopping to the next one typically clears me of any preconceived notions that I might actually be getting better. So as I say, there's a learning curve for every machine, and even for myself. The person who owns bingos, and I play them regularly, I still have to spend a bit of time refamiliarizing myself. It's like getting reacquainted with an old friend, after having not spoken for a little while. You gotta catch up. Well, it's the same with a bingo pinball machine. You leave it one night, you come the next. Who knows? So, these machines are fantastic, as I'm sure you've heard me say over and over and over again. So, let's talk about artwork on Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach, remember, was made in 1960. We have a beach scene. There are seagulls flying through the air. There is the ocean. And you can see sailboats way off in the distance. A little cove. And a sailboat in the near distance. There's a woman on a surfboard paddling out. Another woman that's playing in the surf. And then multiple women and one guy walking across the beach. Beautiful artwork. The cab is a slightly modified version of some of the beach themes that we've seen previously. We have a stylized border that kind of goes across the scene that's painted on the cab, and that's of a wave that's kind of cresting. But this wave is gold. And you can see some people hanging out under beach umbrellas, either laying on towels or on some kind of sandbar in the ocean proper. The Playfield has several women hanging out over the edge of a boat. And the same women and the one guy from the Backglass reprise their roles here on the Playfield, but they're in the distance. So if you're looking at the Backglass, you have the one scene, and looking at the Playfield, it's like zoomed out, and so you have kind of a cohesive whole there. I really love when they do tricks like this with the art. One thing I didn't mention, which looking at the Playfield jogged my memory, this game has rollover buttons. Down on the row of 19 through 22, on the left-hand side, there is a button which will light. And when lit, if you hit it with a ball, it will extend your time tree to before 5th. On the right-hand side, there's a red rollover. If you hit that, it will light after 5th. So when those rollovers are lit, it is to your great advantage to try and land on them, especially as you go down towards the ball return. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast. Or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Don't forget, get your order in if you'd like a t-shirt. T-shirts are available on our website right now for a limited time. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.